Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to check out Defeated Sanity's Chronicles of Lunacy today. We're going to do a review. So I've been listening to this album a bit. It's a pretty short one, it clocks in about 33 minutes. It was released 4 days ago as of the recording of this video. And I think the word to use for this album is brutal. Man, this album is heavy. It is brutal. It is guttural. It is chunky guitar sounds. I think overall, the production of this record definitely harkens back a little bit more towards like old school death metal in terms of the production. It doesn't sound super clean or, overly produced like some more modern tech death type bands can really sound. It really does harken back to a little bit of more of that muddy, very heavily palm muted, that type of sound. But don't get me wrong, it doesn't necessarily sound like an old album either. It does have, I'd say, a little bit more clarity to like the guitar work and stuff. Especially if you're listening on headphones. If you're listening on like a smaller, crappier speaker, you really can't get the overall vibe and feeling of this album as well. I think I listened to it both on headphones as well as a small speaker system as well as a big speaker system, and definitely the big speaker system and the headphones are the way to go with this kind of music. Um, I would say the number one thing that really stood out to me, especially on the first two listens, was the drumming performance and the rhythmic variety and experimentation and tempo shifts and all that sort of stuff that's going on here. Man, this drummer is insane. Not only can he do the really fast single stroke blast, he can do the crazy gravity blast. He has a insane double kicks going, but he also has a few sections that have a bit more of a feel to it with some polyrhythm stuff going on in there as well. But the number one thing that really impressed me about this drummer's performance is just how convincing he was shifting between different tempos and different rhythmic ideas. I mean, some of these tracks easily go through like 20 to 30 different drumming, rhythmic ideas. And sometimes it only lingers on one or two of them for a couple of bars or whatever. Man, he absolutely nails it. Now, the drums, the snare in particular, it does have a bit more of a ringing, echoey type snare sound to it. So if that bothers you, maybe this, I don't know, wouldn't be your cup of tea. But man, I think if you're at all a fan of crazy drummers and rhythmic ideas in metal, I think it's worth checking this one out just for that alone. Now, I think I think the number one performance is the drummer on this album. I think the vocals do come in second. The vocals are heavy, guttural, that kind of, the one thing I would say about the vocals though, there isn't really much variety in the different type of, growly stuff that he's doing here. He doesn't do the really high pitched screamy stuff. He doesn't do weird big squealy noises or anything crazy like that. It's mostly like very consistent guttural death metal growly type thing going on here. Your mileage may vary on whether you like it or not. For me personally, as I said, I do like a little bit more variety in my harsh vocals. So after I think yeah, I think it's good that this album isn't longer than half an hour because it doesn't necessarily outstate its welcome. I think if it was like a 60-minute album of this type of music, it'd be too much probably. But it's clocked in at about 33 minutes, which probably is a sweet spot. I'd say. Yeah, you don't don't think you want this album to go any longer than that, but there are a couple of songs that have some spoken word stuff on there. Now, I didn't really read through the lyrics. I assume it's some brutal death metal lyrical content in this one. I personally am not, huge on lyrics in music. It's not really what I care about in music, especially in metal when you can't really hear the lyrics. Especially there, I mean, I could barely make out any of the words this guy was growling. Even after several listens, you do pick up some words here and there. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, pretty crazy. Now, I would say the guitar and bass here kind of is actually takes a bit of a back seat. Now, you can obviously still hear the guitars, and there are a few bass sections that really do stand out too. But the guitar work is consistent, very heavily palm muted, a ton of distortion and gain. Um, but there are no like guitar solos or really very few actual lead like guitar lead parts. Lots of chunky riffs, palm muting, as I said, lots of tremolo picking riffs and stuff like that in here. But man, it is heavy and it is brutal, and there are absolutely some of these moments where you just want to start banging your head to it, right? And that, I think that's a sign of a good brutal death metal album, right? Um, but yeah, for me, the number one standout thing is the drums. I do think guitar and bass does really take a back seat in this album. Not to say that they're bad. I don't think any of the performances here are bad. It's quite technical. It is very rhythmically technical, quite dense in that sort of way. You're gonna need several listens to really start grasping what is going on here. Honestly, like the first listen was quite an interesting experience. I put on my headphones and went for a walk for, for the first experience around my suburb and just in my ears. It was kind of crazy, but it was really fun. Yeah, it's been a while since I listened to some like brutal death metal. Like I like it, don't get me wrong, but usually I'm more drawn to either the tech death or like progressive music. I actually listen to a lot of music without vocals at all, so instrumental stuff too. Um, yeah, but this has been a very interesting album to listen to. I would say if you're not familiar with this genre, I don't think this album is going to be the one to really get you into it. I don't know. For me, anyway, I don't think I would. This would be Baby's first brutal death metal album. But I still think you can have a lot of fun with this one if you're into it. Now, I think if I have one real criticism of the album is that it does start to sound a bit samey, even though there is a lot of rhythmical variety. And if your ear picks up on the rhythmic side of things, you can probably ignore this critique. But if you're less concerned about what the rhythmic stuff that's going on here, and you want a bit more melody, a bit more lead, or even a bit more variety in in the guitar tones and stuff like that, it's not really what you're gonna get here. So I think from that perspective, maybe you would be a little bit disappointed. And I could see some people just not really getting into it. I think the vocal performance as well is it is consistent, as I said before, but I just think there are some more, for my taste personally, there are some more interesting metal vocals out there, right? But I don't think these are bad. So don't get me wrong on that. So I think depending on what really does it for you in metal, maybe this album is one you might want to check out, but maybe it's not. If you really are not into the super brutal, complex death metal sound, then this probably won't do a whole lot for you. I do think if you enjoy the rhythmic ideas, the crazy drumming performance, if you like the really heavy guttural vocals, if you just want some music you can really just jam out and bang your head, bang your head to, yeah, absolutely check this album out. I think it's a pretty interesting listen, especially after you've given it a couple of goes, and you start to sort of get used to the sound that's going on here. But if you're someone who likes more melodic variety or someone who wants more lead stuff in your metal, then I think this one might be a skip for you. But you know what? It's only 30 minutes. It's half an hour of your time. You can decide whether you like it or not. I think it'll probably only take you a track or two to really decide whether you like this kind of music or not. So guys, thanks for tuning into another one. Smash like and subscribe. We've got a new channel here reviewing metal and progressive music. So if you like that sort of stuff, help us grow by smash and subscribe and all that sort of YouTube stuff. Hope you all have a fantastic, amazing day. Take it easy and I'll catch you in the next one.